number one tip, for me anyway, has always been go and see them quickly. Now, I remember when I first met Leeds, for example, obviously they're a bit of a market, 3 hours away, whatever it is. But fortunately, the team leader was based in London. And that's a good opportunity now. So a lot of, just because your team might be Leicester, actually the team leader might be based in London or around London or nearer to where you are. They might be based in Leeds, who knows. But the point is, that might be nearer. So the first thing I did when I was mentioning Leeds in August was knock out about 4 meetings in August with the team leader, just to build that rapport, so that actually when she got to Leeds, and it was far more remote, there was a base to go from. And I think the importance of FaceTime, not literally the program, but actual physical FaceTime, physical time, shall we say, is really important at the start, in my experience. I do think that first impression is key. They will quickly make up their minds, frankly, whether they think you can add value or not. I mean, they will. As you probably did when you were teenagers, you'll quickly work out who are these business advisors who are actually worth listening to, who actually have a problem I'll call, versus the ones who come to board meetings, nod, etc. I think that's key. The first impression, like it or not, is important in any relationship, and certainly when you're looking to mentor teams, they will quickly decide, okay, is this one of the people I call at 2 in the morning about something? Is this one of the people I turn to for real help or not? And so I think that is an important element of it. The other important thing, I guess, at the start is you defining the type of mentor you're going to be, and this is also really important because I kind of set the expectation out, literally, call me with any problems, I'll be there no matter what type thing, except 2 in the morning around visas. But a lot of people actually say, well, that's not the mentor I'm going to be. I'm going to be a bit more, reactive on the way on the terms of board meetings. They can call me if there's any problems around these times. You set up a kind of structure of what good working practice looks like for you. So when you meet them for the first time, you say, well, actually, given my job, I'm often, in a random city like Grantham doing a project, whatever. I'm often Skegness doing a project. So really, the way this will work best for me is if we have a call once a month, every Sunday at midday or whatever. But you set out the kind of norms, you set out the expectations. I think that first meeting, you've seen them face to face, hopefully. You sit down and you say, this is my job. Hopefully, although I appreciate some of you haven't started it yet. This is what I think it's going to look like. I'll update you later. And I think that's really important that you set that expectation. Somehow I got called at 2 in the morning and clearly didn't accept that 2 a.m. was like an off limits thing, although I did email them at 4 a.m. so that's probably why. So setting that expectation I think is really key. As I said, my expectation was, I will do whatever it takes to help and support you. But the other important thing is the third element of that is routine. And I think this is the most important thing, is you get into a routine. I mean, Loughborough, we always had Sunday, it was pretty much every Sunday, I had a call with Fiona and Gabby to kind of prod them as to the development of their projects. And I think whatever your routine is, once a month, once every 2 weeks, once a week, whether it's an email report that they submit to you, don't, because that just quite seems to do as an admin, and you don't bring admin on them. Have a chat, whatever it is, a visit, they come to you, you come to them, whatever it is, but you set in place a set of routines by which it's going to work. And you say, what works for you, what works for me, I will come and check it on you every single month, and then we'll do this, but you set out that expectation to start. That, again, will be really helpful to making the relationship go smoothly, assuming you see them first at the start. The other kind of general comments I would make, and this is one of the biggest frustrations that took me a couple of years to learn, is a kind of what I call trickle down within the teams. So I, using again the Loughborough example, spent 99% of my time talking to Fiona and Gavin, which was great, and they were quite good at diffusing knowledge, cascading it down. But equally, Rachel and I had the pleasure of dealing with other teams based in London, where the cascading was somewhat non-existent. And we talked to the president and we'd say, right, can you help make sure that project does X, Y, and Z? Make sure they do a proper needs assessment. And lo and behold, we're still 2 months later, and the project hadn't been told, hadn't been cascaded down, they hadn't heard. So the danger of all mentoring is that you're building a relationship with essentially the wrong person. So the team leader is obviously a good place to start. But actually, they might say, well, I'm just the face of the brand. I've got a head of projects who does all that stuff, and then there's actual project leaders down there, and there's the project members down there. And you think, well, if I want to affect that project down there, why am I talking to the team leader? You need to get an introduction down here. So I think that comes back to the kind of type of mentor you're going to be. So you might say, I'm going to be a general mentor helping you in any problem you've got. It might be, I'm an international project expert, hook me with international project lead. Well, that's fine. But getting the access to the right person at the start is key. Because from my perspective, it's so frustrating. Like the most frustrating thing in mentoring is when you say something to a team like, watch out for this, focus on that. And you tell the team, and it doesn't trickle down. The team members never hear about it. The team leaders never hear about it. And it means you're just focusing on someone who's essentially a bit of a block. And you need to go around them by focusing on the right person. That is, as a mentor, the most frustrating thing. Setting whether you're a generalist mentor or a specific mentor, I think there's other stuff we're covering today on that stuff, so I won't go into too much detail. But either you're someone who feels confident helping them across almost any range of issue, and you should feel more confident than you think, by the way. So so even if, when we say generalist mentoring and they say, well, I need help with recruitment, you go, well, I was a recruitment officer on my team. No, that doesn't mean you didn't see how recruitment worked. It doesn't mean you saw what went well and what didn't go well. It doesn't mean you don't have lessons of best practice to learn. It doesn't mean you can't use the rest of this network to get some ideas. So just sharing your own, this worked, that didn't work, is absolutely fine. And then signposting if they need more. So you know more than you think. I think you should all put yourself forward as generalist, but with specializations in certain bits. But that's for you. The other thing I think is really important for building a relationship at the start is a training day. Those who I work with will roll their eyes at this, but I am a huge believer in team-specific training. So an example was one of the teams I mentored was Nottingham, and they have a very unique approach, and so the training was entirely tailored to Nottingham. Probably 10% of it was relevant to other Enactus UK teams, right? Because the tailored approach they took. Well, that's great. Everyone has their own different model. So a lot of teams have people who disappear for a year and their third year and do a placement. That's a very different type of team dynamic. How do we make that work? We need a specific approach to that team with specific training for it. So the other good thing about doing a training day for you guys at the start is you get to know the whole team. You know, rather than talking to one team leader and getting some chat back and forth, and you get a very, often, let's be honest, a very biased opinion. You could meet a team leader who the whole of the rest of the team hate, thinks really shit, but you're getting loads of chat from them. So I guess the point I'd make is, you know, getting in front of the whole team is really good. Having a training day across the whole team gets your brand out there, but also means you have a real sense of what's going on, not just relying on word of mouth of one or two people. And I do think, I mean, that point is so key, to go back to it, is beyond, you're not just mentoring one or two people. This is, you're mentoring a team, right? And that means you help the whole team, or you decide an individual within that team you want to help. But you can easily just get stuck behind one person who doesn't really give you anything. This is a slightly more controversial one, and it comes back to your own style, right? My approach to mentoring is, I'm not here to be a friend, because you've got friends, I've got friends, and I'm here to help you achieve what you want to achieve. Some people think it's their role as mentors to help people feel better. My job is to help you make you better. And I think that's the kind of different approach that I have in my mentoring style. Now, some people decide they have to be best friends with the people they mentor and go for drinks with them or go on the lash with them, and that's a separate conversation. They're very welcome to do that, and that's fine. I'm not poo-pooing that style, and a lot of people do it and it works for them. But again, it's setting an expectation at the start of what you're going to be. I don't pretend that I'm going to be anything other than a knob sometimes to my teams. If a project's not doing well, I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, God, are you okay? How do you feel about it? I'm just going to say, that shit, we can talk about how we fix it. You know, oh yeah, it's a far more blunt style, but they know that from the start, and they know to expect that, and actually they don't like it, well then they need to tell me, but they never do. That's good. But yeah, I think that you need to kind of, if you imagine a spectrum of friend to professional, where professional is, you know, someone from KPMG coming in and, you know, just delivering, you know, turning up business advisory board sessions. That's the spectrum. Where on the spectrum do you think you sit? What is your style? Is it more on that kind of, I just want to turn up, have a couple of formal conversations, run a couple of sessions, and that's it, and that's fine. That's a strong. Or do you want to really, you know, become friends, really build a strong rapport with them, etc., etc. That's fine. Decide and choose. And I think, again, that expectation at the start is really important. Personally, I would advise against trying to become their best friend, because otherwise it's got messy in the past for some of the alumni mentors. The biggest challenge we're probably going to face this year, or a lot of alumni mentors face, is teams just don't get back to you. And there'll be people who constantly say, Johnny, you know, I've emailed the team, Rachel's introduced me, blah, 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 but actually, you know, they haven't got back to me, they're not following up my emails, no one's listening to me. Why does that happen? Why do you think that happens? Maybe you experience that as mentors or people in teams, but you know, when alumni are emailing you saying what's going on with this, or texting what's going on with that, why do you think people don't get back to you? Or program managers. When you've been chasing up your teams, why do they not get back to you?
All of my teams get back to them.
All of your teams get back to you. Rachel, I know all of your teams don't get back to you. Rachel, talk us about a London team that I have in mind that aren't really getting back to you. Why do you think they don't get back to you?
Multiple reasons. Get busy, forget, have like lots of people to communicate with, and don't prioritise.
Don't prioritise you. Okay, good. I think that is part of it, and again, and the way you get around it is at the very start, you say, are you happy just to be one of the crowd who they turn to for support, or do you want to be one of those key people they call? So I think that's important. You're right, they have lots of things on their plate, and you do have to put yourself in their shoes. They're trying to run a team, 60 people, it's new to them, there's an awful lot to learn, and they've been told there's a business advisory board of 10 people, there's community advisory boards, there's alumni, there's UAs, there's program managers, a whole cabal of people. So how do they know who to use? What situations do I turn to Fiona rather than Holly or Rachel, and then who do I speak to university advisor about? And it's very helpful, I think, if it was me, to get all of those people, or not all of them, but main constituents in a room, and actually figure out how we're all going to work together as an advisory team. So program managers, university advisors, get the whole group in a kind of room, and just say, what's our approach to these guys? Because actually, if they're not getting back to you, they might be responding to Holly. If they're not getting back to Holly, they might respond to you, and it's working as a team to help get them. Because there's 60 of them, there's only 5-ish of you. I'll shut up and then I'll do questions at the end.
You've got 1 minute left. 1 minute left. You've got 1 minute left.
Okay, well, the other thing I'll mention is that actually people fall away. So all mentors start, they're excited, they come to training today, they get pumped, they go out and mentor people, they're like, yes, I can't wait to get mentoring. And around about December, January, February time, you all decide you can't be asked. I mean, that's realistically what happens to the majority of mentors. There's someone who used to run mentoring for the alumni. So I guess the final approach from me is, whatever you do, set out your teams in August, September, commit to it. If you don't think it's realistic to be there every single weekend on a Sunday doing a call, don't commit to it. Just be honest up front. But so many mentors just become crap, to be honest with you, in December and January. Maybe you've experience of this yourselves at teams. If you're going to do this, commit to it for the long term. That's relationship advice by Jonny. Questions? Sir?
Committing to one rather than two, possibly?
Teams?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can commit to as many as you want. I commit to 6 at a time.
As in, do you think it's more important to prioritise one or try and...
One team of the other.
Yeah, try and even just read yourself or try and go,
Yeah.
I'll be your main point of contact for this one, but I'll help you when you
Yeah,
need
so I
to.
think, well, it's about exactly sort of your sort of time. If you've got time to commit fully to 2, and it's harder when they're perhaps on distance, but if you've got the time, then definitely. I was sort of full-on committed to about 6 at one point. This year, I kind of was more full-on committed to about 2, and then kind of part-time for about 4. So I think it's about you setting out, again, in that expectation bit, what is realistic, given where they're geographically based, given your time, and given actually their needs. If they've got another really experienced mentor and a great business advisory board, you can perhaps ease off. If they've got a shit business advisory board and you're mentoring Mesh or someone, they definitely need to help them out. Joking. Anyone else? No. Yes, Fiona.
So one thing I'm quite worried about is I don't have much experience. So when you were my mentor, I was like, alright, I kind of know what you're talking about, I should probably give it to you. when I go, I don't have any of that. So how can I either have that or at least try to make them think I have that?
Yeah, so I think it's about you identifying where you can add value at the start. So it's so you have a lot of experience in international projects, certainly just recently, and you can have a lot of value on that. Maybe you can say, and I always say to teams, if you want help with social media or your website, literally I'm the last person you should be talking to. I mean, I don't even know what a website is. If you want help with fundraising, please jog on and talk to somebody else. I'm very clear with them that even though I come in and try to help, I never even tried to give you advice on fundraising, did I? I mean, I didn't even bother. So I was very clear with you, I can't help you on this, go and talk to Holly about that, because it sounds boring and crap. Talk to somebody about projects. So you define your niche, you say, this is my expertise, and anything in this little ring, I will help you with and do whatever I can. Beyond that, I'm going to be honest with you, I can give you some best practice, I can tell you what we did. But the thing is, it comes to recruitment. You can help, you weren't head of recruitment, but you can say, this worked and that didn't work. You can talk about the 3-stage process. Did you use the love graph? You can tell them how to adapt it. The other point is that you're not supposed to be the encyclopedia. Right? I know you had, unfortunately, to deal with me who thought he was an encyclopedia. But the better approach is actually to challenge them and go, well, what do you, just almost, from a sort of problem-solving perspective, if they're doing recruitment, say, well, have you thought through what the next step would be there? And just ask probing questions. So again, with an international project, it's not about knowing I know everything about briquette projects or clean water projects, but it's asking common sense questions to go, and have you thought about the supply chain? How are you going to fund that? Is it sustainable to fund it by grant? You want £20,000 for a brick making machine? That sounds quite ridiculous. So it's just asking, a lot of it is kind of like in your day, if any of you being management consultants or anything like that, it's just kind of common sense questions. So just basic critique. So don't feel you have to turn up like an encyclopedia, just have to ask relevant and probing questions and help them realise. And that's the other approach, which I'm sure has been covered or will be covered later, is the difference in styles between helping them get there versus telling them what to do. You know what end of the scale I'm on, but it's very okay to be on the other end as well.
Cool. I think that's all we got.